So, Mahogany, you're going to be spending the remainder of the day organizing, getting civilians that want to take shelter in the gymnasium from the fighting in here, and then trying to sequester off as large of a territory as you can man.
Yeah.
Okay. And...
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get into like individual action stuff, can I ask what day it is in Sigil at this point?
You can, but I'm going to roll a die to determine the answer.
Okay.
Give me 1 second to pull up my calendar. So every time you guys come back through a portal, I roll dice to see like what time variance there was upon coming back.
And I also want to fire off a message to the group, essentially just telling them what we've all been figuring out, which is I don't know of any factals that aren't either missing or dead.
Today is Toma the 6th. And what day of the week is that? It is...
Hive Day.
Well, it was Hive Day last year.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong one?
So, I'm going to say it's Market Day. Because I haven't actually updated it for the new year, but whatever. We'll just say...
I see. Yeah.
Market Day and everything's closed. And Nath, you had some sendings, and the rest of you were going to have a chat with Doffender. Let's do Nath's sendings first. Who are you sending out to?
Actually...
No, let Kelian go.
Okay, Kelian, what were you doing?
They're going to go deal with Doffender. I know Doffender hates Kelian's guts, so Kelian wants to go back to the temple and check up on Eldev Cube.
Back to Ostram's temple?
Yeah.
Are you going to try to get through the fighting, or are you going to go the other direction? Through the through the bazaar?
Let's go through the bazaar.
And are you trying to avoid people on the way?
As much as humanly possible.
Okay, roll stealth check.
I can do that, theoretically.
You always think you can, but then you roll like a 2 or a 3. And that's happened to me 3 times a session.
That is an 20.
That's why you gotta have those garbage pluses.
So, Nath, who are you sending out
24.
sendings to?
The first sending is going to Liberation.
Okay.
Harmonium Factual dead, poisoned. Most others are missing or dead. City lawless. Barracks skeletal crew at my command need to take the prison. Or not the prison, need to take the forge.
The armory.
Yeah, armory.
Armory, yep.
I mean, they have a forge in there.
Yeah.
Liberation responds at what the fuck? It's 3 words right there. Then at the prison, trying to secure a way to talk to the Watcher.
Then I have a sending Mahogany.
Okay.
Yep.
Factal assassinated. Most others missing or dead. Need the aid of your faction to calm the fighting in the ladies' ward. Also need to capture the armory.
You get back the message. Reese missing. All other high-ups missing. Cypher's staying out of it. You can have me.
I mean, that's not nothing. Any other sendings?
Nope.
Okay. Riot and Liberation. Talk to a few people. I mean, Kelian vanishes. You turn around and he's Batman to you.
Yeah.
What a dick.
So you put out Doffender's name, and after a few moments, she does emerge. She was on duty deeper in the prisons, moving prisoners to lower cells. The fear being that they don't want these people that they're attempting to keep safe in the yard any contact with potentially dangerous prisoners, considering that Swan's son has released the ones that he knows were not, or he thought were not dangerous. Doffender as well, I mean, she looks more disheveled and overworked than usual. And again, she's wearing her full armor, which for her is a detriment because she is a wizard.
Oh, yeah.
She's gone past
And
Dolphin
she's
straight into Vesper.
not happy to see you people at all. You are the last thing she needs right now. And when she comes out, because the message was delivered to her, like, oh, yeah, some noble and her horny boy toy need a word with you. Can you come up? So she came up, and the first thing she says is, I can't deal with any Aunt Nancy stuff.
It's not
today.
Aunt Nancy stuff.
Riot laughs and says, "Are you sure you wouldn't rather be dealing with the Aunt Nancy stuff off Sigil than staying here and dealing with this?"
And she looks at you like she's insulted, and she says, is that supposed to be a joke?
I'm laughing.
I'm.
And she looks back at Liberation.
Liberation drops his voice, leans in, and says, "We need to have words with the Watcher."
And what did Dolphin know exactly about the Watcher? What was her involvement?
That was a minute ago.
Well, she was able to arrange for you guys to get in and see him when you needed to. You just haven't had cause to do that.
Yeah.
I think I remember at first she said, "No, we need to back off. Like that is a thing that should not be touched ever, ever, ever." But
once you guys actually establish contact, though, I told you I would give you access. I mean, just you guys never asked for access after that.
Yeah.
She tells you that he's not there.
He's not there.
Nobody knew he really existed in the first place. She did, and a few key others, White Spear being one of them. She says she thinks that he left along with Aasimar and some of the other mercy killers that are now calling themselves the Sod Killers.
What does that mean? Why are they calling themselves that?
And you can see the look on her face that she has this great contempt for this group of people. And she says it's not about justice with Aasimar and his sort. It's simply about meting out punishment.
Well, that's all well and good, this Aasimar character, like the Watcher's son, but we have business with the Watcher.
And
the reputation
he's not here.
The reputation that he has among his friends is that he didn't look for that.
So what do you want her to do for you?
Well, if you can't put us in touch with the Watcher, then we have nothing else for you.
Unless you want to go off plane, in which case, call us.
And she just can't believe Riot has just no sense of loyalty or duty or anything.
Really? You can't believe that? You know what I am, right?
But then she has work to get back to. Yeah, this is something she doesn't like about Riot. That Riot does not have any sense of loyalty. That she finds loyalty to be a joke.
Here's the deal, though. Don't get yourself killed. Alright?
Yeah, we'll lose if you do that, so don't do that.
We've already lost.
Yeah, then Dolphin gets back to work, leaving the two of you frustrated in the prison yard.
Well, that's my first that was my first option. Option number 2 is the oldest Barmy, aka the man who's already lived through this.
Oh, you think he'll help you? I don't think he'll help you. I think he's behind all of this. I think him and Nyleisha engineered the release of all these prisoners, knowing full well what would happen.
Oh, absolutely.
As scapegoats for the other half of Darkwood's plan, which was to kill Hashkar, and now they've set all the factions against each other.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a shitty time. Where the fuck did Kelian go?
So Kelian making his way back to the temple.
Was talking to somebody else, and by the time I had that conversation finished, he was gone.
So what's your next move?
Hmm.
We're kind of stuck here because
I could probably
Unless-
cast Ascending to somebody. Is there anybody Liberation wants to talk to?
You can always find out where Kelian is.
Yeah.
Father
Right.
Mondo,
No, it won't work this time because we can't listen for the screaming.
Father Mondo, I need to see if he's all right.
Disappeared.
Cast Ascending to Mondo.
Yes.
I haven't said I was going to do that yet.
Okay.
That's
Is it-
Liberation's vote.
Is there any other useful information we could get out of Father Mondo? Because as I am fond of reminding people, this is not a cantrip.
If you're not going to help me to do it as a favor to me, then fine. I'll go find it myself.
I'm just asking. All right, fine. I release you from my service.
Unless
Liberation just got fired.
Liberation rolls his fucking eyes and then just starts making me leave.
And doing what?
He's gonna go to this, try and make his way to the soup kitchen and get there.
Okay. To
make
get
sure.
to the soup kitchen, you're going to have to go through the thick of the fighting. You're going to either have to wade directly through it or find some way around it, or go all the way the other direction around Sigil.
I'm gonna go through the hive.
So go all the way around the other direction?
Yep.
Okay. Are you going to be trying to avoid conflict on the way? Give
Yes.
the fighting a wide berth? Go ahead and make me a sneak check.
A sneak check.
Well, a hide check.
Stealth.
Stealth.
Stealth. Stealth.
It's not a reflex saving throw?
15.
Well, the ability is called stealth, but the action is called hide. 15?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's Riot's next move?
I think Riot is going to stay here and talk to her, to the other member of her faction. So, how long does Raids last? A long time. It's like 8 hours, right?
What lasts a long time?
Riot's telepathic bond.
I should still have it open here. 1 hour.
1 hour.
1 hour.
Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna ask that guy to try and get the others together, because I'm like,
Yeah, he says
part of what's
it should be possible, but it might take a couple of days. Because, I mean, they scattered a couple of days ago, and it's going to take them
Yeah.
a minute to track everybody down.
okay.
Especially with all the
It's part-
chaos happening.
Yeah, part of this is like good for the anarchists, but also good for a certain type of anarchist, of which Riot is not one.
Okay.
This is actually good for Bitcoin.
He says, I mean, are you intending to leave the prison?
No, I don't think there's anywhere I want to be except for here, because I
Okay.
want to talk.
You're waiting for
I feel like
Swanson to come back.
Swanson is the key to this, is in Riot's mind anyway.
Okay. Is it Mahogany's intention then to head towards the fighting with Nath?
Yes, but before I do so,
Yeah.
Mahogany is going to tell the group of ciphers around him, alright, we're staying neutral. If you go out there and decide to do something, you're not a cipher. And Mahogany takes off his badge and puts it away. The ciphers are staying neutral as a faction.
Make a charisma
And then Mahogany heads out the
persuasion
door.
check.
Persuasion? I don't give a shit about persuading people. I'm just saying
Nonetheless, make a check.
if I roll badly, I'm just going to make it an auto success. Yeah, I can't make a persuasion check, but I can spend belief points, and since this is way in line with Mahogany's beliefs,
Okay.
I'm gonna spend my 4 belief points and make it an auto success.
Then, about a dozen able-bodied ciphers, they hide their colors as well. They're coming with you. If you're going to fight as an individual, they're going to fight alongside you.
Sounds good.
So the majority of the next probably couple of hours is spent as you guys are making your way across Sigil to your destinations. As you're trying to avoid the fighting in the streets, much of which is now broken. I mean, the armory... Actually, nobody's laid eyes on the armory yet, but Kelian
Can I,
and...
sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Could I just give you what I was going to do within the barracks after I have issued those sendings?
Sure.
So I'm going to get everyone together. I'm going to get every single member of the Harmonium together. It's still in the barracks.
Okay.
I'm going to assign and are there anyone? Are there at least like 3 that are higher ranked than the others? These all literally privates in green.
You're probably the highest ranking here. It looks like what has happened is Saren was holding down the fort at the barracks, and anybody else and all the other officers had taken contingents of troops out to the armory.
Okay.
So he was in charge, and now nobody is.
Right. So the next highest ranking I will put in command, but I will give very strict orders, and I will give everyone the orders that you are responsible for your underlings. Anyone who doesn't follow your orders, that falls on you. I want one half of the people here to protect the barracks. I also want you to send out runners to get information and bring any citizens, anyone needing help in here to be protected. The number one, your only requirement is to keep people out of harm's way. I want a quarter of you to stay in the in the lockdown. We have some high-value prisoners, not just the 2 that I apprehended earlier. And I want a quarter of you to come with me to take the armory.
Okay.
And one of those runners will be to the gymnasium to tell Mahogany to meet up with us.
Okay.
We're fucking gone.
Well, they'll find you on the way as they head back. All right, I'll tell that runner, don't wear any colors.
Yeah, they know crossing the bazaar at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just traveling the streets of Sigil is very strange at the moment. The few people you do encounter on the streets are either... I mean, some of them are heading away from the fighting, having been injured, wounded. Some of them are heading towards the fighting, having heard that there's a big fight going on and various factions are being represented. You see faction symbols emblazoned on armor and weapons that you don't see openly in the streets. You see soldiers of the governors. You see spellcasters and the signers and godsmen arriving in the ladies' ward, heading towards the armory. These 3 factions would be fighting on the side of law and order, seizing the armory. On the other hand, there are a considerable number out, people wearing Mercy Killer colors, but are not acting as Mercy Killers. A lot of them are wearing, like, patches and cloaks and things. They've turned them upside down. They've modified them. And then just a lot of rabble, with no colors, just in between, fighting on whatever side strikes their fancy. Kelian.
Yes, sir.
You sneak back to the temple. It's not an uneventful trip, but there's not enough time in the day to roleplay all the conflict on the way. You were mostly unmolested on the way. You didn't have any major problems. You got a 14 on your stealth. That's decent. Arriving at the temple...
26, but okay.
You got what?
26,
Why
but
do I
it's
have
okay.
14 lifted here?
Maybe.
Or is that what you rolled that turned into a 26?
I think that's his plus.
That's my plus.
Ah, okay. Standing outside of the temple are 3 silver soldiers. Actually, silver's the wrong word. Maybe like mercurial soldiers. They just looks like a drop of mercury fell out of the sky and made a humanoid shape, holding a spear in one hand and a shield in the other. And they're standing motionless just outside of the temple. This part of the city, because now you're getting off into the hive area here, is much less affected by the fighting. There's still quite a lot of tension in the streets, but by this time in the fight, anybody who is going to be there has gone. And as soon as you get within eyeshot, one of these strange mercurial beings moves out his arm and operates the door handle and opens it for you.
Okay.
And admits you into the temple.
Weird, but okay. I hope this is like an Eldev cube thing.
One of the acolytes explains that the Modron has been very busy, erecting various protections, and yes, these creatures were summoned by Cube to, or rather created. You can't summon anything to Sigil, but yeah, he something magic, and now there's silver soldiers.
Now there's silver soldiers out there. Got it. Hey man, a lot of shit's been going down in this city. I'm glad this is just like, no, it's a protection thing. I'm down with that.
As you walk in, having this brief conversation with the acolyte, you see two gentlemen towards the front of the temple. There's a lot of people taking refuge inside the temple, being kind of the only nice building on the block. Slightly less now that it's been on fire for a minute. But two gentlemen sitting in the front of the temple, they look like businessmen to your eyes, maybe merchants, but they're not wearing any particular identifying marks. But they stand up as they see you enter, and they begin walking in your direction. And the acolyte says, those men have been waiting most of the day, since before the fighting broke out.
What do they want?
They want to speak to you.
Of course they do. They want to speak with me.
And at this point, the two men approach.
Yeah.
One of them bids you good day. Glad to see that you safely return home.
Mm-hmm. Can I help you?
He says that the Duke extends his warmest invitation at your earliest convenience. And he says this, he leans in and says it very hush-hush to make sure that he's not overheard. He assures you that the Duke is alive and well, but for how long he doesn't know.
Yeah, let's get in trouble. Let's go now.
Oh, okay, that's a lot easier than I was expecting. I had this whole negotiation planned out. Okay, let's just go.
I mean, whatever.
I mean, what can I get?
What can I get? And they do. They express surprise that it was just that easy. Like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's... I'm losing myself. I don't want to go.
You don't want to go?
Going to a church... No, he wants to go. He's explained. It's like, I'm turning to a church. I'm concerned about other people. I don't know what the fuck's with me anymore.
Do you do anything else at the temple before leaving, or do you leave immediately?
Just a status check on how Of and Q were doing.
Okay. The status check includes the acolyte asking whether or not the Lady Riot will be returning to the temple anytime soon.
She's going to do what she wants to do. I have no idea.
He says that strange men have been around asking after her, too. But they had
not
decided,
merchants?
No, these are hive people. These are mud men, basically.
No, it's
beggars.
probably just part of her cell or something.
He doesn't.
I don't know.
I don't think he knows what that means.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Kelian barely knows.
But yeah, these people were not patient enough to sit and wait like your friends were. What should he tell them if they come back?
Just keep trying.
To keep trying.
I'm not her retainer. I don't know. She'll be here when she wants to be here.
And so you step out into the street with these two men, and when you do, they're walking with their hands on their swords. And things are that guarded at the moment. And you're making your way back to the Hall of Records.
Oh, I thought he meant Bazook Zook.
It's wrong Duke. You've been in Darkwood's office a couple times. You know, you've been called in by the principal on a few occasions. And the Duke is a very practical man, but he also likes to show off his wealth. So he kind of has an opulent place in the Hall of Records on his whole floor that he keeps to himself. When you arrive, and they very swiftly bring you up. Usually they're shuffling around. You have to talk to various different levels of clerks to get you through doors. Not today.
Well, something's clearly wrong then.
And when you enter into the Duke's room, it's completely devoid of anything. There's no carpet on the floor, no tapestries on the wall. His desk is not there. There's no couches. He's sitting alone in the center of the room with a single candle in front of him. And he's sitting cross-legged on the ground, like Indian style. And as soon as the door opens, he blurts out to the two men. He says, "Only Kelian enters." And the two merchants close the door, leaving you in there. And this is the coldest you've ever been in this room.
He's a level 20 ranger or something. Yeah, could still take me out in one shot, I'm sure. Yeah. Kelian goes over to the candle and plops his butt down.
He says, "Kelian, there's a great danger befalling the city that I love. And I mean to circumvent it. Can I count on your aid?"
Kelian lets out that heavy sigh and just pinches like the bridge of his nose.
Ask for money.
Is it something? I can't help but feel that this is something you've started, though.
And he does smile a little bit. Yeah. And he says, "This is something that's been brewing for a very long time, since before I came to Sigil, and will still be simmering long after all of us leave it. But yes, I have had my fingers in a few pies, if you must know."
Totally surprised. And you need my assistance of all the Burks and Sigil.
Funny that. Fate has a sense of humor. Or she's a cruel bitch, one of the two. He says there's a particular artifact. A stone of great magical power. Greater than any story you've heard about a magical stone. And he says he's been searching for it for many years. That a lot of his machinations over the years, all the things he's done that made you and other people of Sigil hate him, most of them were done in the service of the city, because finding this stone is crucial to securing its livelihood. And very suddenly, yesterday, he finally got a lead. He said he's crafted a spell that was intended to... it's similar to the Dream spell that was crafted to contact the bearer of this stone. But that for many years, the bearer has been unreachable. Then very suddenly yesterday, he no longer was.
Eldov.
And the whole time I was speaking to him, I felt you very nearby.
It pissed me off.
So that's why I was pissed off. No.
He says,
Okay.
"You bring this Eldov safely to me, or tell me where you're hiding him so that I can secure him. And I can obtain the location of this stone. I can put an end to this fighting. I can save lives. And of course I can make you wealthy beyond your wildest imagination."
Oh, I hate you so much.
Does she say that out loud?
No. He doesn't say that out loud. Instead,
He thinks it real hard, though.
he thinks it real hard. How do you know he has the stone? He says futilely.
He doesn't know for sure because he wasn't able to actually speak with Eldov for very long. He said he made contact 3 times last night. The first time they spoke very briefly before Eldov was roused from sleep. Then that happened a second time. Then the third time was very strange. Because for once they were no longer sitting in his office here in the Hall of Records, but in his long hall on Eastgard. And he didn't look like a scraggly, worn, emaciated man, but a youthful, glowing, and vibrant, almost like a picture, really. And he suspects that that wasn't Eldov at all. All he knows for certain is that Eldov was the last holder of this stone, because he very specifically, over many years, crafted this spell to find the person who held this stone. And it's working now, which means that this person's no longer beyond the reach of magical communication. And he reiterates, if you decline, and I have to use resources to seek this Eldov out on my own, I will still find him. And I will still secure him, and I will find the stone, and I will save Sigil, and you will be my enemy.
It's time to Kelian or get off the pot.
He says, agree to help me, and I will immediately reinstate your residence. I will,
Good.
I'll kick out the little Eastgardian diner. You'll have your premises back. I will arrange a stipend of however much gold you want as a contribution to the temple that you've been staying at, in whatever name you see fit. I will make available resources and information that I have access to.
Every ounce of my being tells me that I should take this deal. Every single sinew in my body says I should just tell you where he is.
And he says, but you won't.
No.
Roll initiative.
I'm-
You don't have to roll particularly high. He's not doing great on the initiative right now.
Kelian, you could have lied. Isn't that your thing?
It's a 13.
13. So you start explaining, like, every fiber in my being tells me, and as you're getting to the point, you see he's losing his patience. And he says, if that's how it's going to be. And he stands up, summons a sword into his hand,
Of
and
course
begins
he does.
lunging forward. But you have the initiative. You've got him beat. And you're not surprised. I mean, there's...
Yeah, no, I'm definitely
So
not
it's his
surprised.
sword. What is he, a warlock too?
Gasp! Roll a Darkwood! How dare you?
So
Well, 20 every class.
I got I need a moment.
Okay.
Well, he's attacking me. I don't have that much time. So, how high up are we? How high is the tall records?
Too high to survive.
Okay.
I don't know. He's pretty
unless
bullshit.
you can feather fall.
I can't feather fall. I keep losing all my magic items somehow.
Even if you jump out the window, Darkwood could just go to the window.
Fly after me.
He's level 20 in every class.
I don't think fly after you so much as just take pot shots at you from the window.
He could just throw his sword at you if he can just summon it.
So what are you doing?
Hey, no need for that. No need for that. We're negotiating.
You're
You
trying
just
to-
haven't offered me enough.
And he shakes his head and says, I don't have time for this, Kelian. And he moves to strike you. And he stops. And you see, for a moment, this look of terror on his face. He says, no, not now! And then he vanishes, and his sword clatters to the ground, and he is gone.
I've never loved the lady more.
Take his sword! Take his sword!
Oh shit, son. So we were talking about Kelianing earlier. Here we go.
So here's Kelian's new problem. Is every member of the Fated that watched him walk through the Hall of Records with this clandestine meeting with Darkwood, and now Darkwood's gone and Kelian's alone in the room. We'll let Kelian stew on that for a minute. Liberation.
Hey,
You got a 15 on your hide check.
I did.
Go ahead and make an active perception check. Go ahead and make a roll.
Sure thing.
Since you're being... I'm assuming you're keeping a lookout.
Cautious, yes. 21.
21. It takes you hours to cross the city, because, I mean, you're going the other direction. You've got to be very careful going through the bazaar. Passing through the Guildhall Ward, a lot of the residents of the Guildhall Ward, the ciphers especially, and also some signers and sensates, have started setting up a perimeter around the gymnasium. They're making it, kind of fortifying it. They don't have a lot of manpower. This is not a military operation, but you see that they're making the city safe here in the Guildhall Ward. Past that, going through the Clerk's Ward, the Fated too are very hunkered down. The Takers, they actually do have a lot of manpower and soldiers, but they're taking no part in the fight. They're just protecting their own.
Are they offering protection for people for a price?
I'm sure some of them are. Are you going to undercut
I'm just picturing them handing out tickets.
You move through the Hive, and the Hive is probably the most peaceful part of the city right now. Like all of the bubbers and no goods are like, well, there's just nothing for us to do today. But moving through the Hive, you keep getting the sense that you're being followed. You keep looking over your shoulder, and once in a while you see just a woman ducking out of your line of sight, and you keep spotting her 2 or 3 times. And she ducks around corners whenever you turn around to pay attention to her.
Turn into an alley. Walk about 30 paces down it. Stop. Just call out. If you wanted to say something, then just go right ahead and say it.
And after a few moments, you see this woman's face. And then we're just talking like a dirty street beggar. She's wearing rags. She has like boils on her face where some illness has taken hold. And she peers into the alley at you. And she says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cause offense.
Not at all. Just say your piece. I'm actually kind of in a hurry.
She says that these are troubled times, sir, and I am but a poor and defenseless beggar. And then she looks down at the ground.
I'm listening.
She says that she knows you to be a person of means who might be able to protect her from the evils of the city.
Where do you need to go?
She says she has nowhere to go. No, she's on her own.
I walk a dangerous road, my lady. It's probably very well toward my death, but you know. So if that's what you wanted, if that's what you want to do, then come with me and I will protect you.
Okay. So you finish your journey, going through the lower ward. Like I said, there was considerable celebrations amongst godsmen. Until, of course, the fighting broke out. The consensus is that Factal Ambar has ascended to his next life. He's gone on to be whatever greatness awaits us all at the end of our journey. Of
Given
course, the
that-
fighting has had much diminishing effect on this celebratory attitude.
Given what I've heard from sendings from Nath and just the general massive, that can't be right. That's Liberation's outlook on it, but he doesn't voice this, but that's a suspicion he's got, that Anbar has met with some cruel or terrible fate.
Arriving at the soup kitchen, this place has guards now. Heavily armed men, 4 or 5 of them, stationed outside of the door to the soup kitchen. You see 1 or 2 more walking perimeter on the block that are clearly part of the same group. And on the roof of the place are 2 archers. And as you approach, I mean, they don't bar your passage. They allow you in. Father Mondo is offering the place as a refuge from people from the fighting, of which there are a considerable number, because a lot of people on the other side of the ladies' ward fled this direction when the fighting began.
Mm-hmm.
The guards he found and hired on as mercenaries for the time being, he was able to pay for thanks to your generous contributions over the years.
I'm glad you managed to make some good use of that money.
He just had it in a planter.
It's been tucked in his sock for all this time.
Yeah.
Underneath a mattress.
So, I will tell the beggar woman that's been with me that if you were looking for refuge, you can stay here. Father Mondo is a kind soul; he'll take care of you.
And she nods. And he sees to it that she's taken aside and given some food. And you see that, though, as you're conversing with Mondo, she's not very interested in the food. You keep looking over. You're not even sure if she's eating it. She's kind of playing at it, and she keeps gazing at you. Mondo is pressing you for information. He doesn't... I mean, there's a lot of rumors flying around, and he's not sure what's true. He's been focusing on making sure that these people in his charge are protected.
Here, as I can figure, it feels like not just Hashkar, but every factal has been, like, every faction has been decapitated.
He says that some of his contacts in the Bleakers, people who come around and help with food deliveries, the delivery was considerably late the other day, and he asked why. And they said, "You know how it is, Factal's gone."
Yeah, that sounds about right.
He asks whether you and your companions are safe. Or keeping safe, rather.
Near as I can tell, hopefully none of them are getting into any
He says as
trouble.
2 of them are headed for the armory and one of them's in Darkwood's office.
We are the danger.
No, once Father Mondo, I've answered all of Father Mondo's questions. I'm gonna sit down on the bench across from the woman,
Okay.
and I'm gonna activate detect magic.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely an illusion. She is a succubus. Pretending to be a beggar woman.
I
So as
will
not
look
to
her dead
arouse
in the eye.
suspicion.
Yeah, I'm gonna look her dead in the eye and say, "Yeah, not gonna happen. What do you want?"
And she kind of stammers a bit, and she says she doesn't know what you mean.
Is this the same succubus that I rescued from Duke Grand Stereos?
The very same.
Izena, how have you been?
And she looks down at the food kind of sheepishly. She says, I was hoping you would not recognize me.
Oh, I have ways. Why come to me, of all people, for refuge?
And she says because she doesn't understand you.
You don't understand me. Hell, I don't understand myself most of the time. That's part of the reason why I walk the road I do. Figure out who the hell I am.
Who's clacking their microphone?
I think that's
Sorry, mine was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was off center.
Okay. She's not sure what you mean by that. How one does not understand oneself. But she's also not exactly the kind of person to discuss philosophy. But she says that she doesn't mean to cause any trouble or any further harm. But that...
As long as you don't harm anybody here, because I brought you to this place and given you refuge from the chaos of the city outside. I suggest you not take that gift lightly, because if I find out that you have, there will be a reckoning.
And you say
You will
that,
not
and
like
she
it.
averts her eyes from your gaze. She has a very difficulty looking you full in the face when she's talking. And she says again that she is not intending to cause disruption, but she needs to be near you. She needs to watch you. And she doesn't fully know why. In other words, when you leave the soup kitchen, she's going to come with you, and if you tell her not to, she's just going to try to hide again and stalk you.
You having connection issues, McDohl? We can't hear you.
Austin's also having connection issues.
Maybe it's just Discord in general.
Same.
Discord's having some issues.
Okay.
Can we try swapping the server?
I don't know how to do that.
I do. I just wanted to... If I change it to US East for a moment, it should reset the server, essentially.
Okay. I don't... Do you need me to do anything?
Yeah, I can... No, I can do it.
Okay.
It'll do the thing.
Ah, there we go.
I think you did the thing.
Is the thing done?
Essentially, I didn't want to do it if no one else was having problems, because I was worried that if Discord was having severe problems, none of us would be able to connect
back
again.
in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as soon as I knew everyone else was having problems, I was willing
Yeah.
to.
I was
Although,
having problems. Yeah, I'm back now. I'm
as
sorry.
we've learned, there's voice chat in tabletop that we can just... There's a button
That's
for that.
true.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
I dropped out just as Izena was responding to me.
She says that she doesn't intend to cause any disruption, but that she needs to follow you and watch you, and she doesn't fully understand why.
Is this Grand Stereos? Is this Grand Stereos' influence on you?
And she shakes her head and says that he has no further influence on her. And that it's not... And she rattles off a couple of other devils' names that she might have been working with in the interim.
So,
But she says
you're
no, she's
following
returned
me-
to Sigil of her own volition.
So you're following me just to follow me, okay? Well, like I said out there, you're welcome to follow me. It's just my path is a dangerous one, and so what I'm going to now that I'm certain that Father Mondo and the soup kitchen are safe, I'm going to go and rejoin my friends. Hopefully, like I said, they're not in any kind of trouble.
Okay. Rejoin them where? Like, are you headed
That
back towards
would-
the prison or to the temple or what?
That would probably be the temple. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's bring the succubus back to the Temple of Aasimar.
Yeah. Sounds like a great time.
Maybe she'll convert.
Mahogany,
The heavily warded Temple of Aasimar.
your journey through Sigil, like the other, it's not uneventful. We just don't have time to go through every conflict. But you arrive at the barracks where Nath is waiting for you. And the fighting is still in full swing. So the question to the two of you is, what's your broad goal as far as the conflict at the armory?
I mean, get control of the armory, keep them from handing out weapons to people that are going to use them destructively. And having spent some more time with the reports, I'm pretty sure Nath is a little bit less. Like, he's still going to try and prevent people from getting citizens, especially in the way, who aren't involved in the fighting, or, non-lethal where possible. But if it comes down to it, fireballs are completely unauthorized at this point.
Okay. And Mahogany, same question. That sounds good to you, pretty much?
Yeah, essentially. Like, we're gonna do our best to put everything down as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And my vision for the next few days is like, I'm gonna be doing my best to keep the ciphers neutral, but any specific events that there's one clear side that has the interest of calming things down in mind, that we'll move in on.
Okay. And you express those details to these ciphers that are following you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't actually have any intention of playing out a mass combat at the armory. That's how it's supposed to go down, but...
If it makes you feel better, we can win, and I'll cast Foresight.
So, Nath, if there's an opportunity to end the fighting but lose the armory, with the understanding that if that happens, the next violence will be either at the barracks or the prison, will Nath take that opportunity?
Well, so the thing is, I'm pretty sure at this point I know there's a good number of people, like citizens, that are sheltered in both the barracks and the prison.
Yes.
So if the armory is largely cleared out and it's just the combatants, then no. He's not going to let the fighting fall back to either of those given the choice.
And what about Mahogany? Same question. If you can end the fighting early, but it means losing the battle, is that an opportunity you'll take?
There's no real point in that.
Okay. So, seize the armory, minimize loss of life. Okay.
Yeah, minimize the amount that the fighting can spill out into the populace, basically. Anyone who was, completely willing to use lethal force against anyone who doesn't surrender. But beyond that, anyone else that gets... The most important thing after that is keeping other people from getting hurt.
Yep, that's our goal too. And when I get a chance to talk to Nath for a moment, I make it clear that once they have the weapons, if they then start doing harmonium shit, they're going to be the next ones we go after.
Well, I was hoping that your faction of all people would be people trying to stop the violence in the city, from my understanding of your role here normally.
Right, and you shouldn't need weapons for that.
No, we shouldn't.
Then we understand each other.
So there's good news for both of you. And the good news is that as far as citizens are concerned, not many. The fighting is furious. It's very political. There are very talented, well-trained combatants on both sides. A lot of Doomguard have been waiting their whole life for this kind of fight, but the Sensates have a considerable amount of spellcasters on their side. When you guys first get a glimpse of the armory coming up the street, looking through the smoke, it's demolished. One of the towers has been brought down completely. In fact, why don't I just go get my armory map so I can more...
Are you just gonna bring up an imager of a smoking ruin? Is that the new armory map?
That's the new armory, that's right.
It's like a smoking ruin, like a weirdly circle-like crater.
Oh, immigrant, don't lock
Nodal
up.
beat me to that punch.
I might have an armory map. Yeah, okay. Immigrant was pooping, so I had to wait for that to be done.
Immigrant was Kelianing.
It was. See, I thought Kelian was number 1, not number 2.
Kelian's number 1 in my book.
Okay, so
I went to the bathroom.
the main features of the armory, or one of the main features, are the 4 towers on the side of it. One of these towers has been brought completely down. There is an enormous breach in the walls of the armory. By the time you guys arrive, the loss of life is tremendous, and a lot of the surrounding buildings have been damaged. The good news is, not a lot of civilians in this fight. The Ladies' Ward is the least populated area of the ward. Everybody here has an agenda. There's nobody fighting that didn't want to be fighting. The other good news for you guys is it looks like your side is winning. It looks like a lot of the Sons of Mercy and Harmonium are pushing into the armory at this point. And reinforcements coming in from behind in the form of level 14, 15 player characters with a cadre of Harmonium soldiers and Cypher warriors at their back is good news for you guys. So what kind of high-level magic are we looking at? I ask my 2 most magical players.
I've burnt most of my spell slots already, but
I have
got
every single spell slot except for...
I've got 1 Wall of Force. I've got... Yeah, that won't help. And a ton of counter spells.
Oh, yeah.
Counterspell would actually be very useful.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Nath's counter spells are statistically likely to never, like, it's 50-50 if you throw a 9th level spell at him, then he just stops it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, Nath's mostly just protecting the, Nath's gonna be, he's got 1 Wall of Force for emergencies, but he's mostly gonna get the largest company of Sensate spellcasters he can, get his Harmonium in front of him, and just lead in, and tell him, just let your best spells loose, I'll keep you covered.
I've got a spell. What CR would you describe most of the people on our side?
Probably
Oh no.
the Harmonium, probably less than 1, because, I mean, he's got the dregs, is what was left back at the barracks.
Right.
The Ciphers...
How many of them can I fit in a 30-foot area?
What's the goal here?
I've got this spell. It's called Animal Shapes.
Okay.
And I can turn any amount of willing creatures within range into CR4 beasts.
Okay.
That's the beginning and the end of my plan.
And your plan is to use
Bear Army?
use this spell on, like, who's the target? On
As
the
many
Harmonium?
willing people who are on our side. The Harmonium...
Once you share that, Nath will immediately start shepherding, Harmonium and Sensates who aren't spellcasters into a group.
So
Yeah.
what animal are you changing them into?
I'm just gonna go with their old standby of I just want to make sure that there's not... Because I haven't done a whole lot of looking into CR4 Beast.
Okay.
So I'm just doing a quick D&D Beyond listing here.
You find no shortage of willing creatures. Because the thing is, a lot of these sensates that are here arrived early, ran all their spell slots out, and are now don't have a lot to do to get back into the fight. They've been holed up in surrounding buildings, kind of behind the line of the main Harmonium force and Sons of Mercy. So it's real easy to round up a lot of sensates for this plan, because either...
Yeah, nothing is going to fit into the building itself except for what looks here like... Oh, that's dumb as hell. Let's go with that. Giant snapping turtles.
Okay. Now, the sensates... There are 2 reasons a lot of sensates like this plan. For one, I get to be a snapping turtle. Hooray! And for 2, a lot of sensates came here, they believe in the cause, they ran all their spells out, and now you're offering them another chance to get into this fight and turn the tide.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of Doomguard going to get snapped.
So quick rundown for you, Brick.
Yeah.
Is that it works essentially like my shape change.
Oh,
they have 75 hit points.
I read it.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a spell.
What's the attack on a giant attack in AC on a giant snapping turtle?
Their AC is 17, and they have an attack of +6, and they do 18 damage on average.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, before I start making the rolls here, what priority are the two of you putting on personal self-preservation?
Oh, personal self-preservation? Mahogany puts barely any on that.
Like 2, but I mean, Nath's pretty hard to kill.
Okay.
Like, Nath isn't going out. Nath isn't avoiding danger, but he's not particularly worried about getting a random arrow to the chest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that goes into the ward or gets shielded.
So snapping turtles happen,
Yeah, a lot of snapping turtles happen.
and a lot of counter spells happen,
Yep.
and your side was already doing very well. After a few more moments of fighting, these snapping turtles coming in from one side, reinforcements coming in from the other, the line breaks, and you guys finally manage to storm the armory.
Just picture one Doomguard just like, fuck it, I'm done. This faction sucks anyway.
But you do see a lot of non-Doomguard fighters armed with Doomguard weapons. Cromlich was making good on his promise. He gave out a lot of magic swords.